The Republic, by Plato, a brief summary. On a quiet evening in ancient Athens, Socrates walks with a friend when he is invited to the house of Cephalus, a wealthy elder, for a discussion. What begins as casual conversation about old age soon turns into a deep inquiry into one of the most pressing questions of philosophy: what is justice? Cephalus offers a simple answer: justice is telling the truth and paying one's debts. But Socrates gently challenges this. If someone lends you a weapon and later becomes insane, would returning it be just? Clearly, justice must be more than that. The conversation moves to Polemarch, Cephalus's son, who proposes that justice is helping friends and harming enemies. Socrates dismantles this too, arguing that harming others cannot be the work of justice, it only makes people worse. Then enters Thrasymachus, a fierce and confident sophist. He declares that justice is nothing but the advantage of the stronger, rulers make laws to benefit themselves, and the weak obey. Socrates responds calmly: if rulers make mistakes in their interest, are those mistakes just? Moreover, a just ruler should care for the ruled, like a shepherd cares for his sheep, not exploit them. The debate deepens. Socrates claims that justice is a virtue of the soul, something that leads to internal harmony and a better life. He proposes that the just person is always happier than the unjust, even if appearances suggest otherwise. To explain this, Socrates embarks on a grand thought experiment. Suppose we imagine a city instead of a person. If we can discover what justice looks like in a city, perhaps we can reflect it back onto the individual. The just city, Callipolis. Socrates, along with his companions Glaucon and Adimantus, begins to construct an ideal city from the ground up. They start with a simple city based on needs: food, shelter, clothing. But Glaucon insists on a luxurious city with culture, art, and war. As the city grows, so does its complexity. Socrates introduces a division of labor: farmers, soldiers, and rulers. Each group performs its function, no more, no less. Justice, he says, is each class doing its own work without interfering in others. The warrior class, the guardians, must be brave, loyal, and wise. To shape them properly, Socrates insists on strict education and even censorship of poetry and myth. Harmful stories that depict gods acting immorally or heroes showing weakness must be removed. We must not admit stories about gods warring, plotting, and fighting, for they are false and corrupt the soul. He proposes that the rulers, the philosopher kings, must be those who love wisdom above all else. They are uniquely qualified to see the truth and rule justly. The allegory of the soul and the philosopher's journey. To explain why philosophers are best suited to rule, Socrates uses three analogies. 1. The sun. Just as the sun allows us to see physical objects, the form of the good allows the soul to see truth. It is the ultimate source of reality and knowledge. 2. The divided line. Reality is divided into 4 levels: images, physical objects, mathematical reasoning, and finally, the forms, unchanging truths understood through intellect. 3. The allegory of the cave. Socrates describes prisoners in a cave, chained to look only at shadows on a wall. One escapes and discovers the real world outside the sun, the trees, the truth. The journey upward represents the philosopher's path from ignorance to enlightenment. The truth would be literally nothing but the shadows of the images. Those who escape the cave and return to help others are like philosophers who must govern, though they may be mocked by those still in the dark. The tripartite soul. Socrates maps the city structure onto the soul, which he divides into 3 parts. 1. Reason, the rational part that seeks truth, like rulers. 2. Spirit, the emotional part that seeks honor, like warriors. 3. Appetite, the desiring part that seeks pleasure, like producers. A just soul is one where reason rules, spirit supports, and appetite obeys, in perfect harmony. The decline of the city and soul. Socrates then outlines how cities and souls decline. 1. Aristocracy, rule of reason and wisdom, ideal state. 2. Timocracy, rule of honor-loving warriors, ambition over wisdom. 3. Oligarchy, rule of the rich, wealth over virtue. 4. Democracy, rule of the masses, freedom over order. 5. Tyranny, rule of one who seizes power, desire over all. Tyranny is the lowest form, a chaotic soul enslaved to desires, a city ruled by fear and violence. The tyrant is enslaved to his desires more than anyone else. Women, family, and the noble lie. In the ideal city, Socrates controversially proposes that women can be guardians, and that marriage and family are abolished among the ruling class. Children are raised communally to avoid nepotism and personal attachments that weaken unity. To preserve the city structure, noble lie is told that each citizen has gold, silver, or bronze in their soul, corresponding to their class. Though false, this myth fosters loyalty and stability. Philosophy and the afterlife. The final book addresses the immortality of the soul and the rewards of justice. Socrates recounts the myth of air, where a soldier dies, sees the afterlife, and returns to tell of souls choosing new lives based on their previous actions. Choice, not chance, determines your fate. The just soul is rewarded, while the unjust soul suffers. The message is clear: justice leads to true happiness, not just in this life, but beyond. Core themes. Justice is inner harmony, both in the city and the soul. Philosophers are the best rulers because they see the truth. Education and discipline are crucial to shaping a moral society. Democracy, while appealing, can devolve into tyranny without wisdom. True happiness comes from living a just, rational, and ordered life. Conclusion. The Republic is more than a political dialogue, it's a vision of the ideal life, a roadmap for the soul and society to ascend toward truth, goodness, and harmony. Plato, through Socrates, invites us to question what we accept as reality and challenges us to pursue the highest form of knowledge, even when it is difficult, dangerous, or unpopular. Until philosophers rule as kings, cities will have no rest from evils.